So did you hear there's another new edition coming out?
Again?
Yeah, it's every 6 to 36 months.
What are you talking about?
Gotta keep it fresh. What's up, guys?
Fresh.
Welcome to another Lords of War Games and Hobbies video. I almost forgot the name of our store there.
July's gonna be a weird month. July's
yet.
a weird month. Yeah, it's gonna be. Yeah.
Jay's back.
I'm back.
Yeah.
For a moment.
So way less views.
We're gonna get less views for sure.
I figured we'd, trade off our last video that did really well, and just kind of roll the ball forward a little bit. And we're gonna try and be not too cynical here, and chat a little bit about.
We're never cynical.
No. How dare you accuse us? How dare you? Talk about how new editions of games. Obviously we're talking about Games Workshop, but we're gonna use other examples as well. Why they're important or not, and why they might keep the game alive. Obviously, Games Workshop being a company for like 40 years, they're onto something a little bit there.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a Games Workshop thing. It's a lot of entertainment. I mean, why do we have the same big budget, whatever, Marvel, Star Wars, etc. movie every July or June or something? And why is there a PS5 and a PS6 and a PS7?
Yeah, let's break that down, because that's an interesting comparison to start things off. I think there's obviously a technological component to new versions of things like iPhones. I mean, you could maybe argue that a little bit recently, but with video game consoles and stuff like that, you see big jumps in technology. Can you apply the same logic to a miniature game?
Yeah, I mean, while yes, technically, the act of rolling dice and measuring and moving minis doesn't require technological leaps, but you've seen some evolution of miniature games, or at least it's like the rule sets in miniature games would probably follow something more of think of fashion or music or something. It trends through the decades.
It's like a cultural,
and it comes and it goes and it circles back, and we kind of go back in time and forward. But I think these businesses have recognized that you can still, it doesn't matter what it is, literally any object. If I present you a new and better one, you are more likely to buy that one than, it could be, if you walked into a store, this is like a dumb example, but maybe I think it holds true. If you walk in, let's say, to the hardware store, and you've got the identical, it's like the same model of drill or something, but one's in a newer box, you will just pick up the newer box.
Something psychological.
You are just not likely to pick up the old box. You're going to be like, what's different about this? Why is this one in a slick new box and the other one isn't? And they could be functionally the same. Maybe the new one has the plastic is colored blue instead of red.
The new one could be worse.
It could be worse, but the point is, companies routinely do this on purpose to keep refreshing and keep reminding people. Oh yeah, we're improving the object too.
That's right.
And I mean, for Games Workshop, it's going to be. They're going to, and I don't know. You could argue it is true, or has been for some time, at least the last couple decades, as the model quality was incrementally getting better.
I think that's objective. I think you can't really argue against that.
Yeah.
I think objectively the model quality is just improved all the time.
Whether the rule set or game is vastly better, I don't know. It's just different.
But there is a philosophical almost promise of progress in that that sort of, you know what I mean? There is this idea that the newer edition should be better than the old one, and a lot of the time they're also promising that too. They're explicitly saying that we're improving the experience, and I actually think they do mean that. I think they actually are trying to improve it. Whether or not they're taking the right cues, you could argue that differently. And I like what you said. I think that progress in a game is something more, because it is more like art. It does, I think, follow more cultural norms than it does follow technological progress. So for example, our society, especially North America, maybe is very governed by competitive gaming, and I mean that in the sense of video games as well as miniature games. Pretty much anything people can do in a game format, people want to measure it, stats, contest, sports is reflective of that too,
Yes,
right?
yeah. The sports scene in North America is like everything's a competition all the time.
Yeah,
as we are the bastion of capitalism, which is that's all structured on winning all the time. So people like every game has a league you have to play games and then get placed and then
it's funny because we laugh about it a lot, but like ironically people just don't participate unless it has those things.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So people are conditioned now to want and expect those things as like a basic requisite of those things. But
anyway,
so it is interesting. I think so we have to kind of separate that. But with that being said, I think like from a company standpoint, one of their like more selfish reasons to do a new edition, I think, is to inject sales into a line.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean that's. I think that's a part. I know. I can't wait for the comments have been just chef's kiss these days. The spice is real.
Love your guys'
flowing.
comments.
It's flowing right now. Yeah. So get ready for another comment video one of these days. But no. But this is the part that always makes me chuckle when anytime it gets any negativity or vitriol. Maybe it's because like maybe there is a better way, but yeah, why wouldn't they do this? Like it's like such a it's why wouldn't a company whose goal is to make minis and for a profit not.
So let's look at all the
ways to do that.
Exactly. And let's look at all the ways they get to benefit from it, right? So like they obviously can, more recently they can reprint books. Well, they always reprint books. So like every army gets a new book. So if you're a collector, you're kind of like conditioned to buy those products, and you're basically re-upping your membership almost.
Yep.
Every time there's a new edition. There's usually new miniatures that come out for that army.
You actually get to kind of, with the book thing, is they get to kind of double dip because you're gonna get a little cash injection from selling index cards,
right?
Because I'm one of these people. I love the cards. Like I know it's like I'm literally lighting my money on fire because they're gonna be irrelevant, and they're also free to download. I could make them myself. But I'm
make them yourself. Jesus.
I know. Yeah, I'm giving you guys brilliant ideas today.
I can see Jay in the line at Staples getting the guy to laminate his cards that are going to expire in 6 months.
You know what's funny? There was a guy who did that, and they laminated them badly, so it was kind of a big waste of money. But anyway,
oof.
For me, it's a small cost for convenience. But anyway, so they get to sell those cards, and they sell a bunch of them. Like we just got our stack of cards, which will be officially on sale in a little while. They're not out yet, but I think the ballpark number, it was like at least $1,000 or something we spent on card packs that are actually free to download. But people are going to buy them, so it's like one of those. That's like a money.
And you might ask, how do we know that? Because we're going to buy them. It's when you're your own, like you get high on your own supply sort of thing. Like the store's run by two people that love the products. So
so they're gonna. Anyway, so UW gets a little cash injection there, and then as the books roll out, they get to sell those again. Whereas I think the classic model where they don't do a book wipe, it's like I don't know. You could argue they make a little less that way, but whatever. So sorry, that was the one about the cards. So they get to make the cards. What else?
Yeah. So we said the new book every edition. The cards they get. I think one of the more powerful things that happens, and I've experienced this myself, is the feeling of refreshing. So like an army that you might have looked at for a long time but weren't really interested in gets a refresh, and maybe like a new design philosophy, or they get some new minis or something like that, and all of a sudden it becomes like an attractive. We always say like when a book comes out, it's like an army's new again, right?
Yeah.
It gets this like grace period of time where it feels like a new release again. Like the whole range basically becomes interesting, exciting again. And I guarantee that Games Workshop sales reflect that as well.
Yeah, this is their ongoing way of doing the what they've done before, which again, we always use the video game analogy because it's very prescient or whatever. It's the we update a character, update a weapon, and now all of a sudden people are playing that again because they're like, oh, this guy was bad before, and now maybe he's good. I'm gonna, or whatever it is. It's like a big patch gets dropped. So, and this will lead into some future videos, but yeah, this is how they update the game. It's not a a quiet download for free. It is
Yeah.
it is a thing that you generally have to pay for. So I get why people don't like that so much, but that's part of their business model. It's always been part of their business model. So,
Yeah,
you know.
and one thing I've noticed, and we always try to do as a store, is new editions are like these great opportunities for people to ramp onto a game.
Yeah.
So it's almost like this big door opens. It's not ever closed, but it feels the most open when there's a new edition coming out, because there's this like feeling that everybody's going to be learning together, and it's a great time to kind of try a new game, right? So, well, whether or not that's true or not, I think there is some truth to it.
It's very powerful.
Yeah.
We can tell you empirically every time. Once the edition does drop, now Chris mentioned earlier in the week. The other side of the sword is the weeks leading up to it, where sales are not great because people are anticipating the changes, and so they don't want to make rash decisions and quick decisions. They want to like wait and see.
There's a lot of wait and see from people.
So then it does rubber band,
Yeah.
and you do get the influx of of new sales for people that are ramping on again, or you get. I mean, this is very common. You get a guy who maybe skips 2 editions, but then that constant, and this is where maybe the marketing gurus are like, no, the Games Workshop thing is actually really good because of this, right?
It's
stuck in their ear,
Yeah.
and then they're like, I keep talking about the new ed, and then they come in and they're like, I haven't played since 6 or
I
something.
hear it all the time, and we see these people all the time.
They come in and buy a new book.
They haven't been around for several editions, and it's like every time a new edition comes out, it's like they get the birthday invitation from Games Workshop.
Yes.
Like, remember us?
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah. Yeah. You thought we moved away, but we're right here still. Come over. I got toys.
We got toys, and you haven't seen them in a while. They're really cool toys.
They're really cool toys,
Yeah.
and we got new ones and all this stuff, and So say what you will about whatever, how much you hate the way it's designed, but it is effective, and there will be a very good video coming up early August. I mean, it's gonna be a mix of the most boring video and also the best video, which will be when they release their year-end financial paper, which takes about usually end of July is when it's.
We got to get you some like little tiny glasses that you put at the end of your nose.
Yeah.
Those
that one's gonna be good. That one's gonna be good. And I'm going to bet $100 bucks that it's they're gonna have it's gonna look up or whatever.
Yeah.
There's not gonna be a dip. So anyway,
It's a bit like betting on the rain in England, isn't it? Like
yeah. So that'll be my proof that everything we're saying is true to in a way. But anyway, I think.
Well, I mean, like, just to end off the video, I think, not that anyone's watching this part. This might be the fun part, controversial part, but like, I think you can look at other companies for what they do, and maybe see that, like, just to compare and say, like, when you don't do this, what happens, right?
Yes.
So people could argue, I always use the War Machine, bring that up. People could argue that, like, they actually waited way too long to do a 3rd edition of War Machine, and that was the most. And then when they actually decided to do it, they had to do it because they needed to do it, not because they wanted to do it. So they were on the back foot and they had to rush it, right? Whereas if you're proactive about changes and you kind of keep evolving your game and you're the one pushing the envelope, I think that's a better, stronger business position. You look at like Corvus Belli, I don't know that they're on the same like clock that Games Workshop's on. They're obviously not. But they have a very purpose-driven business model.
Very purpose-driven, yeah.
And they have a new edition every X amount of years because they know they need to.
Yeah, and they're kind of clever about it because the iterations are very small. And it's enough that the players don't get too upset about it. They seem to just be like, okay. But then again, they're also not in the business of selling a lot of books. They don't.
This is the helpful part. People tend to look at it very positively because it's been a long period of time. And it doesn't really invalidate anything they've purchased.
No, and a lot of it is a digital type of thing. So we do still sell some books, and they do release some like material, but it's not meant to be the source of the like it's funny. It still kind of accomplishes the thing about ramping some new players in because people hear about the new edition, but then they don't feel like, oh, I got to buy all these things. It's kind of interesting how. Now again, Corporate Belly, different scales of economy here.
Oh, massive scales, yeah.
Right? But to your point about companies that don't have good plans or that botch this process, you see it pretty often. Some companies manage to do it pretty well, and usually they follow a very Games Workshop looking structure. Whether it was even Battlefront miniatures, and they haven't done a new edit in a little while, but when they went from second to third and then third to fourth, it was like pretty cyclical, and it was done quite well. They did a lot of like things for customers to like. I think they had things like if you brought in your old rulebook, you could get like a new mini rulebook. And anyway, but companies that have not done or had plans or don't say, it's like basically I'm talking about a fantasy flight basically. is they send to say nothing, and then oops, oh, we're gonna do this. Yeah. And then you get things like Second Ed X-Wing, etc. that just don't go as well.
Well, and it's also, I think, worth mentioning that like you have to. I think it's only responsible to build a game that could be updated, right? Like, yeah. And that was one of the things I think that hurt X-Wing was that it was always going to be a really difficult game structurally to like update if they had to update it.
Yes.
Because of all the dials and cards and stuff that you'd have to get people to buy into a second time.
Well, they decided to package important cards in different kits to make it a chase, like a collectible chase, and then rather than a generic pool that everyone, so yeah. That's what happens.
Sword died by the sword.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope you guys like this video. We can't wait to read your comments and respond with some spicy takes as well. Until next time.
Thanks.